Hello everybody and welcome back to Gunthreat Chats. Today I wanted to respond to a video that was made recently by a rather large channel called Technology Connections, who I really like. I really like his channel. I really like pretty much every video he's ever made. I like his presentation style, and this video is not to attack him in any way. This video is a response to his position on one of his recent videos talking about not using fossil fuels and using alternative methods to that, which, you know, is a good idea. I think it's the way we should go, but there are some things that need to be talked about, that need to be thought about when it comes to this kind of thing, because one of the things that most of these discussions end up missing is the human element of everything. Is it logical to switch away from something that's going to, that is a finite resource anyways and is harming the environment and potentially causing changes in the entire world? Obviously, that's a natural thing to say. But to do that, you have to overcome people, and overcoming people requires a certain approach. And most of the people who are fixated on, trying to fix the problem are not understanding what the real problem is, which is people. And that's the problem. So I'm making this video specifically because I did write out a very long comment response to that video trying to make the points that I'm about to make in this video, but that comment has been removed in some way. I'm not going to accuse him specifically of deleting it, because I've had videos, or I've had comments on my own videos that have been just disappeared for whatever reason. I don't have any comment moderation seriously on mine. So I'm just going to assume that it was YouTube that just kind of removed it for whatever reason, and that he didn't go in and just manually remove it himself. I don't know that that's the case, but I'm just going to proceed from that assumption. So I want to go over everything I said in the comment, put it here in video format so that it's at least here, and what I have to say is actually on the internet and available for people to see. So the first thing we need to understand about why the green movement and all this stuff is just not really getting anywhere with the average person is because you guys have a tendency to underestimate the power of convenience. People want things that are cheap and easy. They want things where they're able to just pay for it and it works and they don't have to think about it anymore. And the problem that you're going to have with overcoming this inertia that comes from the convenient things we have in our society is that the things we have already just work. They already work. Fossil fuels work. They are an integral part of our economy. They are an integral part of our daily lives. And because they already just work, and because very specifically the average person does not actually see any kind of changes in their local environment from what scientists are trying to tell us is happening, there is no urgency to try to fix the problem that we're being told is a problem. And it's really hard for the average person who is just trying to get through the day and just trying to pay their bills and just trying to support their families and all of that stuff to have any kind of feeling of, we need to change this when they look outside and the temperature is the same temperature, basically the same temperature it was last year as it was last year as it was last year. Now, you can tell a person that, well, if the average temperature goes up by a factor of 1 or 2 or 3 degrees or whatever the number is that we're being told is a critical mass, you can tell them that. But when you hear 1 or 2 or 3 degrees, the average person is going to be like, okay, whatever. Because even though you can understand that that's a thing, it's esoteric as far as the average person is concerned. They're not going to hear that and be like, that doesn't mean anything to them. And the problem is that, even if what we have doesn't necessarily work in an optimal way, for the most part, things work good enough that people are willing to just live with what they have because it works and they don't have to put any further effort into fixing a problem that they don't see as a problem. I can give you a couple of personal examples from my own life that, there are things that I would rather have a certain way, but because those issues are more or less solved for me right now, I keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. For example, I live full-time in a travel trailer. You can't see it right now because the background is removed, but I live full-time in a travel trailer. And one of the big things I would love to be able to do would be able to put a bunch of solar on my roof so that, later on when I finally get to the place where I can travel and go off grid and do all those kinds of things, I have a solar power plant on top of my roof that powers my batteries and keeps everything charged. But the problem is that solar is still pretty expensive. It's a significant investment even for a travel trailer to put, large amounts of solar on your roof, invest in the inverters that change the solar from, or the the solar controller modules that go into my inverter that I have, that goes into my batteries that I already have, right? That is a significant investment, and it's also just a lot of physical labor that I'm going to have to do because I can't afford to pay somebody to come in and do it for me. So I've always had access to electrical hookups, which is connected to the grid, which uses fossil fuels, which does all of those things. And while I know that that's not the optimal solution, I have something that works already, and the amount of money and time and effort that I would have to expend to convert to the solution I would prefer is not worth it, given the fact that I already have something that works. Same thing with these couches that I have in my living room right now. This travel trailer is several years old already, and I've had to completely remove the dinette that was in here. The couch broke within the first year, and I have a custom setup in here that I built myself because, you know, we needed to fix the problem that was in here and create a more livable living situation here in the living room. My wife has a friend who built us a couch option, and the couch that he decided to build is not what I wanted. It's not even close to what I wanted, but it works enough that I'm probably never going to get around to building the custom option that I want, because it does work. It may not work the way I want it to, but it works well enough that putting the time and money and effort into replacing the option that we have now is just not worth it to me. And I'd rather just live with what I have, because it's too much of a pain to try to fix it to the optimal way that I want things. And that's the problem that people who are really focused on green energy and all of these things don't understand, or at least they don't care about it as much as the person who has to bear the cost of it cares about it. Solar and wind and all of these alternative energy options require a significant upfront investment from somebody. It might be the government, but more often it's going to fall on individual homeowners or the person buying the electric car or whatever it is that we're talking about when it comes to these replacement options. Somebody is going to have to pay to get those things done, and that requires time, and it requires money, which is born out of the time and effort they put into their jobs, and they'd rather spend that money on something else. It's really hard to see the benefits of long-term investments when you live paycheck to paycheck, and most people in most places in the United States, and especially if you live in poverty-stricken countries, they have no chance of even trying to do anything like this. But even in the United States, most of us, myself included, we live paycheck to paycheck. We have no extra money. We have no disposable income to try to invest in making things better when we already have something that works. So when it comes to things like trying to get people to put solar or building solar farms or wind things or all these different things, there's a lot of different reasons why people just don't want to deal with it. It's not even just the fact that it's expensive. It's just there's a lot of problems that come with putting these things in place. There's a lot of time and effort. Wind farms are a massive eyesore to a lot of people, and that actually matters to them. Like, if your focus is on green energy and trying to save the world, obviously you don't care about that, but a lot of people do. And you're going to have to do a lot of work to convince them that your point of view matters more than them not wanting to have to see a sea of freaking fans in their backyard. So that's the big thing about just switching to renewable energy in general, but specifically when we're talking about cars, because a lot of people are really pushing the electric car thing, what you guys don't understand is that electric cars just aren't there yet. I know it sounds like they are, but they're not. They're really, really not. If you have a house where you can plug in your car and charge it overnight, the range anxiety that used to be a thing isn't quite as bad as it used to be. And for your specific use case, yes, electric cars might be an option for you. But for the average person who lives in an apartment with nowhere to plug in their car, not an option for them. Until fast charging stations become something that is ubiquitous and on every corner, just like gas stations, the average person is not even going to think about an electric car because they don't have a way to plug in their car and make sure that they have the ability to get back and forth from work every day. That's just the way that it is. If people don't have the freedom to be able to take their electric car from one state to another and be able to count on the ability to be able to plug their car in somewhere, they're not going to buy an electric car, because regardless of the fact that the average person doesn't travel anywhere, they want the option to. They want the option to. And you're never going to convince them that, oh, well, you never actually do it anyway, so what do you need that for? No, they want the option. It doesn't matter if they do it or not. It's the same argument that people make when it comes to pickup trucks. Oh, the average person uses the bed of their pickup trunk once a year. Well, yeah, but they still want the ability to do it so that when the situation comes up that they need to be able to move something with their pickup truck, They have it available and they're able to do what they need to get done. It doesn't matter whether they do it a lot, they want the option. And that's the problem. Electric cars are not set up to be able to give all of the same benefits that current gasoline-powered cars do. And regardless of how irrational it is, they want those options, and they're not going to compromise on them. That's how people work. Once they have something that gives them what they want, they're not willing to accept anything less. You need to provide, well, your replacement needs to be at least as good as whatever it is that they have. And electric cars just aren't there. They're just not. Just the fact that, what if I forget to plug in my car and now I don't have now it's not charged, and I get up in the morning, it's like, oh crap, I didn't plug it in, or I didn't plug it in right, or there was a fault in the system or something, and you wake up and now you don't have any electric charge to get to work. Well, you need to have a fast charging station to be able to go to compensate for that. How many times have you forgot to plug in your phone, you wake up in the morning and you're like, crap, I only have like 10% charge left. Imagine how that's going to be with your car. This is the reason why most people want to stick with gasoline, because you just go to the gas station. It's always there. It's always filled up. And if you're low on gas, you just stop at the gas tank or the fuel station, fill up your gas tank, and go on your way. This is the problem with the people who are so focused on the idea and the potential consequences of what fossil fuels are doing to the world, yet they're not focusing on trying to push the solutions to the problem. They see electric cars and they see electrification, they see renewables and all this stuff as the solution to a problem. But the real problem is you need to get those things to the point where they can sufficiently replace the thing that you see as a bad thing before anybody's going to be really interested in making that transition. Because people want things to just work. They don't want to have to put any additional effort into it because they have enough other things to worry about in their lives other than, trying to address this thing that you've decided is a really big problem. So that's what I wanted to say. I know that I don't think anybody can disagree that, if climate change is real, which it's debatable. Well, let me change that. Climate change is real. How much are we affecting it? There's a lot of argument about that. Some people are going to say a lot, some people are going to say a little. That doesn't matter. What matters is that what does the average person see? And if you can't convince them that the need is dire enough that they need to change, then they're not going to change. If you can't replace what they have with an option that is at least as good as what they have, they're not going to willingly change. You can try to force them to change if you want, but that only works so long as they're willing to live with it. And once they get tired of putting up with your crap, they're just going to fight back, and then things are just going to be way worse. So the best way to get your agenda out there, my green friends, is to stop trying to convince people to upend their lives to adopt this technology that you want, and start focusing on trying to push the technology forward and get it to the place where it's ready to replace what we already have in a way that doesn't cause people inconvenience. Because until that happens, nobody's going to be interested. So hopefully all that made sense. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe, help us reach 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize the channel and all that cool stuff. Head over to the gaming channel, watch the videos over there, and I will see you for the next one. Bye, guys.